The Galactic Council chamber was filled with worried voices. Representatives from 43 different species sat in their designated sections, all talking at once. The massive circular room had windows that showed the stars outside, but nobody was looking at the beautiful view. Everyone was too scared. Ambassador Velthar stood at the center podium. His feathers were gray with age, and his large eyes showed deep concern. He had served on the council for 30 years, but he had never seen a crisis like this one. "Please, everyone, we must have order," Velthar called out. His translator device made sure all species could understand him. Counselor Thex clicked his mandibles together in frustration. His insect-like body was covered in dark armor, and his multiple eyes scanned the room. "We have tried everything, 17 different solutions from our best scientists. All have failed. The Cascade Plague spreads faster each day. The plague was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. It was made of tiny machines, too small to see, that ate other technology. When it touched a computer, the computer stopped working. When it touched a ship's engine, the engine died. Whole planets had lost power. Millions of people were suffering. The Vrin people offered their quantum nullifiers," said another counselor. "They failed in 3 days. The Hektar used their temporal shields," added someone else. "The plague adapted in hours." Velthar's heart felt heavy. They had been fighting this plague for 6 months. Every solution made it stronger. It learned from what they tried. It changed itself to survive. Now it had spread to 12 star systems, and it was still growing. "Perhaps we should evacuate the affected systems," suggested a small, blue-skinned representative. "Save who we can, and abandon the rest." "That is giving up," Thex said sharply. "We are the Galactic Council. We do not run from problems." "Then what do you suggest?" The blue representative shot back. "We have used our best technology. We have the smartest minds in the galaxy working on this. Nothing works." The arguing started again. Velthar felt tired. He was about to call for another break when the chamber doors opened. 2 humans walked in. The room became quiet. Humans were new to the council. They had only joined 5 years ago, after they had finally developed faster than light travel. Most species still considered them primitive. Their technology was simple compared to others. Their ships were slow. Their worlds were few. Captain Daehyun Park walked calmly to the visitors section. He was a tall man, with short black hair and steady eyes. He wore a simple gray uniform, with no decorations. Behind him walked Dr. Minji Cho, a woman with her hair tied back in a practical style. She carried a small case. "Honored Council," Daehyun said, bowing slightly. "We have heard about your problem. We would like to help." Several counselors made sounds of disbelief. Thex's mandibles clicked loudly. "The humans? You have been in space for less than a century. What could you possibly offer?" "No." Daehyun did not look offended. His face remained calm. "We would like permission to study the plague. We may be able to find a solution." Quote, laughter came from several sections of the chamber. Not mean laughter, but the kind that comes from disbelief. These were species that had been traveling the stars for thousands of years. They had technology that seemed like magic, and humans wanted to help? "Young Captain," Velthar said gently, "we appreciate your offer. But our greatest scientists have tried everything. The Vrin have computers that can predict the future. The Hektar can manipulate time itself. If they could not solve this, how could your people?" Minji stepped forward. She did not look nervous, just serious. "Because we think differently," she said simply. "We are not saying we are smarter. We are not saying we have better technology. We just want to try." Opens's face perform. "Try what?" Thex demanded. "Try and fail like everyone else? Try and make it worse? This plague adapts. It learns. It has defeated technology far beyond yours. Maybe that is the problem." Daehyun said quietly. The room became silent. All eyes turned to him. "What do you mean?" Velthar asked. "Everyone has been using advanced technology to fight advanced technology," Daehyun explained. "Maybe that is why it keeps winning. It is made of technology. It understands technology. It eats technology." "So what would you use?" another counselor asked. "Rocks and sticks?" Some beings laughed again, but Daehyun just smiled slightly. "We would like to find out, but we need permission to study it first." Velthar looked around the chamber. He saw doubt on every face. He saw some anger. He saw a lot of skepticism. But he also saw desperation. They had no other options. "The human request is unusual," Velthar announced. "But these are unusual times. I motion that we grant them access to study the Cascade Plague. If they fail, we lose nothing. If they succeed..." He spread his wings. "Then we all benefit." They did. They did subscribe to N24. They did subscribe to N24. "This is foolish," Thex protested. "They will waste time. Time we do not have. Do we have any better ideas?" Velthar asked. "Anyone?" Nobody spoke. The vote was called. Most counselors voted yes. Not because they believed in humans, but because they had no hope left. Desperation made them willing to try anything. Daehyun bowed again. "Thank you, honored council. We will not waste your time." "How long do you need?" Velthar asked. "Give us 3 weeks," Minji said. "If we cannot make progress by then, we will stop and let others try again." 3 weeks, Velthar agreed. "You will have a laboratory in the research wing. All data from previous attempts will be shared with you." As the humans turned to leave, Daehyun stopped at the door. He looked back at the council chamber, at all the worried faces and doubtful eyes. "We have got this," he said simply. Not loudly, not like a boast, just a statement of fact, calm and confident. Then they left. Thex clicked his mandibles. They have got nothing. But Velthar watched the door where the humans had gone. Something about the captain's eyes had caught his attention. They were not the eyes of someone who was guessing. They were the eyes of someone who had a plan. "Perhaps," Velthar said quietly. "Or perhaps we are about to learn something new." In the research wing, Minji opened her case. Inside were simple tools and several containers of what looked like dirt. Daehyun started reviewing the data from all previous attempts. They did not look worried. They did not look scared. They just looked ready to work. Outside the windows, the stars shone. Somewhere out there, the Cascade Plague was spreading. Somewhere out there, millions of people were counting on someone to save them, and 2 humans had just quietly said they would try. Nobody believed them yet. But that was fine. Humans were used to being underestimated. They had been surprising people since they had first looked up at the stars and decided to reach them. This would be no different. Daehyun looked at Minji. She looked at him. They both smiled slightly. Then got to work. No big speeches. No grand gestures. Just 2 people doing a job that needed to be done. The galaxy was about to learn something important about humans. When they said, "We have got this," they meant it. The abandoned wing of the research station was cold and dusty. Nobody had used these rooms in decades. The equipment here was old, outdated by galactic standards. Perfect, Junho Kim thought as he looked around. Junho was the lead engineer for the human team. He was young, only 32. But he had learned engineering in the hardest school possible, making old things work when you had no money for new things. He wore simple work clothes and carried a toolkit that looked ancient compared to the advanced devices other species used. "This will do nicely," he said to his team. 5 other humans stood with him, all looking at the dusty room with satisfaction instead of disappointment. Sora Lee, the team's physicist, ran her hand along an old computer terminal. "This is perfect. These machines are so old, they are almost completely mechanical. No quantum processors. No neural networks. Just basic computing. Why is that good? Asked Hyunwoo Baek, the youngest member of the team. He specialized in analog systems, the kind of technology most species had abandoned centuries ago. Because the plague eats smart technology, Sora explained. It understands advanced computers. It knows how to break them. But these old machines? They are too simple. Too stupid. The plague might not even recognize them as technology. Junho smiled. Exactly. We are going to fight the future with the past. Word spread quickly through the station. Humans were setting up their laboratory. Curious aliens came to watch. Some came to help. Most came to laugh. A tall, crystalline being peered through the window. Look at what they are using. Those computers are museum pieces. This is embarrassing. His companion, a floating sphere of energy, pulsed with amusement. I heard they brought bacteria with them. Bacteria! Like that will stop a nanotech plague. Inside the lab, Minji heard the comments but ignored them. She was too busy preparing her cultures. The containers from her case now sat in a temperature-controlled environment. Inside them, modified bacteria grew and multiplied. Daehyun entered the lab carrying data tablets. I have reviewed all previous attempts to stop the plague. I found something interesting. 1. Everyone gathered around him. Every solution tried to fight the plague directly, Daehyun explained. They used energy weapons to destroy it. They used counter-nanobots to combat it. They used temporal fields to freeze it. All direct confrontation. Quote, otter. Quote, quote, and all failed, Junho added. Exactly. The plague adapted to everything. It learned from every attack and became stronger. Daehyun pulled up a hologram showing the plague's spread pattern. But look at this. In areas with high biological activity, the plague spread slower. Minji leaned forward. Biological activity? You mean living things? Yes. Planets with dense forests. Oceans full of life. The plague still spreads there, but slower. It is like something is interfering with it. Sora's eyes widened. Because biological systems are unpredictable. They are messy. They do not follow perfect mathematical rules. The plague is designed to understand technology, but maybe it struggles with pure biology. That is what I am hoping, Minji said. She gestured to her cultures. I have been modifying these bacteria for the past week. They are designed to eat specific types of molecules, the same molecules that make up the plague's nanobots. Hyunwoo looked skeptical. Can bacteria really fight something so advanced? Bacteria have been fighting for survival for billions of years, Minji answered. They are the most successful life form on Earth. They adapt. They evolve. They find ways to eat almost anything. I am just giving them a target. Junho started connecting the old computers into a network. While Minji works on the biological solution, we need to create protection for whatever technology we can save. If we can shield our equipment with something the plague does not understand, we can keep working even in infected areas. How do we do that? Someone asked. With stupidity, Junho said with a grin. We make our technology too dumb for the plague to recognize. Pure mechanical systems. Analog computing. Things that do not think. They just do. For the next week, the human team worked around the clock. They did not make announcements. They did not give updates to the council. They just worked. Quietly and efficiently. Other species sent spies to watch them. The reports that came back were not encouraging. They are using computers from the Dark Ages, one spy reported. They are growing bacteria in dishes. They are building machines with gears and levers. It is primitive. Thex received these reports with satisfaction. As I expected. The humans are wasting time with ancient technology. They will fail. And then we can focus on real solutions. But Velthar was not so sure. He came to visit the human laboratory personally. When he entered, He found organized chaos. Humans moved with purpose, each one focused on their task. There was no panic, no arguing, just steady work. Daehyun noticed him and came over. Ambassador Velthar. Welcome. How is the work progressing? Velthar asked. We are ready for initial testing, Daehyun said. Would you like to see? Velthar followed him to a sealed chamber. Through the transparent wall, he could see a small container of the Cascade Plague. It glowed faintly, millions of nanobots waiting to consume any technology they touched. Minji approached the chamber wearing protective gear. She carried a small spray bottle filled with cloudy liquid. Through the chamber's airlock, she introduced the liquid to the plague sample. Everyone watched. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the plague's glow began to fade. Slowly at first, then faster. Within 5 minutes, the glow was gone completely. Velthar's feathers stood up in shock. What happened? The bacteria are eating them, Minji explained calmly. I modified Earth bacteria to recognize the plague's molecular structure as food. To them, these nanobots are just dinner. But the plague adapts, Velthar protested. It will learn to fight your bacteria. Maybe, Sora said. But here is the thing about biology versus technology. Technology adapts through programming and logic. Biology adapts through evolution and random mutation. The plague can predict logical responses. It cannot predict random biological evolution. Junho brought over a device that looked like it belonged in a museum. And while the biology fights the plague, we protect our necessary technology with this. It is a mechanical computer. No electronics. No smart systems. Just gears and levers calculating numbers. The plague does not even recognize it as technology. Velthar stared at the dead plague sample. This is remarkable. You did this in 1 week? We have been preparing for 2 weeks, actually, Daehyun corrected. We spent the first week studying the problem and planning. Only 1 week, building the solution. You must report this to the council immediately, Velthar said urgently. Not yet, Daehyun replied. This worked in a laboratory. We need to test it in a real environment. Give us 1 more week. If it works in the field, then we will report. Velthar wanted to argue, but he saw the determination in the captain's eyes. 1 week. But this could save millions of lives. And we know, Minji said simply. That is why we are being careful. We only get 1 chance to do this right. After Velthar left, the team gathered around their workstation. Are we really ready for field testing? Hyunwoo asked. Junho looked at the dead plague sample, then at his team. We have to be. People are dying while we wait. Sora began preparing deployment containers for the bacteria. We will need to introduce them into infected systems carefully. Too much at once might cause problems. Too little, and they will not spread fast enough. I will prepare 3 different deployment strategies, Daehyun said. We will test them simultaneously in 3 different infected zones. That way, we can see which method works best. Over the next 3 days, humans moved through the station, preparing for field deployment. They loaded containers onto small ships. They programmed navigation routes. They triple-checked every calculation using their old mechanical computers. Other species watched with amusement. Thex sent another spy report to the council. The humans are preparing to deploy their solution. They refuse to share details. They claim it is not ready for review. I predict complete failure within days, but Velthar remembered what he had seen in that laboratory. He remembered the plague's glow fading to nothing. He remembered the calm confidence in the human's eyes. He found himself hoping, truly hoping, for the first time in months. In the human laboratory, Daehyun gathered his team. Tomorrow, we launch. 3 ships, 3 infected systems. We deploy the bacteria, and we watch. Either this works, or we have wasted everyone's time. It will work, Minji said quietly. The science is solid. The science is strange, Junho corrected with a smile. But yes, it should work. They all looked at each other. Tomorrow would change everything. Either they would save millions of lives, or they would become another footnote in the list of failures. But none of them looked worried. They had done the work. They had tested their theories. They had prepared as well as possible. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humans could do. Daehyun smiled slightly. All right, team. Get some rest. Tomorrow we show them that sometimes the old ways are the best ways. As the team dispersed, Minji paused at the door. She looked back at the laboratory they had built in this dusty, abandoned wing. Such simple tools. Such basic methods. And yet, just maybe, they would accomplish what the galaxy's greatest minds could not. She smiled and turned off the lights. Tomorrow would be interesting. Commander Ji-won Han checked her equipment one last time. Everything was secured. Everything was ready. She looked at her team of 8 humans. All of them calm and focused despite what they were about to do. Remember, she said quietly, we are not here to be heroes. We are here to do a job. We go in. We deploy the solution. We monitor the results. We leave. Clean and simple. Her team nodded. They were all former military, chosen for this mission because field deployment in plague-infected systems was dangerous. Technology could fail at any moment. Ships could lose power. Life support could shut down. This was not work for civilians. Ji-won had spent 20 years in Earth's Space Navy before joining the Council mission. She was short, muscular, and had a scar across her left cheek from a training accident. She spoke little and moved with military precision. Her team trusted her completely. Dr. Seung-min Oh adjusted his monitoring equipment. He was the only non-military member of the field team, a bioengineer who needed to observe how the bacteria performed in real conditions. He was nervous but trying not to show it. The bacteria cultures are stable, Seung-min reported. They are ready for deployment. Pilot Nari Song sat in the cockpit of their small transport ship. She was young but incredibly skilled. She had to be. Flying through plague-infected systems meant their ship could lose power at any moment. She needed to be ready for manual control, for unpowered gliding, for emergency procedures that most pilots never even trained for. Navigation is set, Nari announced. We will reach the first deployment point in 6 hours. Ji-won nodded. 3 ships launched from the Council station. Each headed to a different infected system. Each carried the same cargo: containers of modified bacteria, mechanical monitoring equipment, and human teams ready to deploy the solution. The Council chamber was mostly empty when they launched. Most counselors did not even know the humans had started field testing. Thex knew, but he had not bothered to watch. He was certain it would fail. Only Velthar stood at the observation window, watching the 3 small ships disappear into the darkness of space. He folded his wings and whispered a prayer in his ancient language. For the humans, for all the people suffering in the infected systems, for hope. Ji-won's ship entered the first infected system 6 hours later. Immediately, alarms began sounding. The plague was everywhere here. It had consumed 3 planets' worth of technology. Billions of people were living without power, without computers, without modern conveniences. Some were dying because hospitals could not function. Stay alert, Ji-won ordered. Nari, keep us away from major plague concentrations. We cannot deploy if our ship gets infected. Yes, Commander, Nari responded. Her hands moved across the manual controls. The ship's automatic systems were already failing. Red lights flickered on the console. She was flying mostly by feel now, watching the stars and planets to navigate. They approached their deployment point, a dead satellite that had once coordinated communications for the whole system. Now it was just a floating piece of infected metal, glowing faintly with the plague's presence. Seung-min, prepare for deployment, Ji-won said. Seung-min moved to the deployment bay. He wore a protective suit, though nobody was completely sure if the plague could infect living tissue. Better safe than sorry. He loaded the first container into the launch tube. Container 1 ready. he reported. Launch, G1 ordered. The container shot out toward the dead satellite. It was designed to break open on impact, releasing billions of bacteria directly onto the infected surface. They watched as it hit, cracked open, and spread its cloudy contents across the satellite's hull. For long moments, nothing happened. Then, slowly, very slowly, the satellite's glow began to fade. It is working, Seungmin whispered. The bacteria are consuming the plague. Ji-won allowed herself a small smile. Continue deployment. All planned locations. Ji-won allowed herself. Ji-won allowed herself. Over the next 3 hours, they deployed containers throughout the system. Each one released bacteria that immediately began eating the plague. The process was slow, but steady. The glow faded wherever the bacteria spread. Meanwhile, in the second infected system, another human team was having similar success. But other species were also deploying solutions in the same systems. A Vrin science vessel arrived in Ji-won's system, carrying their newest quantum disruption device. They believed this version would finally work. They deployed it with great fanfare. Broadcasting their attempt across multiple frequencies, the device activated. For 3 minutes, it seemed to work. The plague retreated from the device's range. Then, just as it had done with all previous attempts, the plague adapted. It changed itself to resist the quantum disruption. Within 10 minutes, the plague was spreading again, now stronger than before. The Vrin ship fled before the plague could reach them. Nobody noticed that in the areas where the humans had deployed their bacteria, the plague had not grown stronger. It had just continued to die, slowly and quietly. 5 days passed. Ji-won's team maintained a safe orbit around the infected system, monitoring the bacteria's progress. They sent no broadcasts. They made no announcements. They just watched and recorded data. Seungmin spent every waking hour studying the results. It is fascinating, he told Ji-won. The bacteria are evolving. Some of them are mutating to eat the plague more efficiently. Natural selection is happening in real time. The best bacteria survive and multiply. Is that good or bad? Ji-won asked. Good. Very good. It means, even if the plague adapts, the bacteria will adapt too. It is an evolutionary arms race. And bacteria have been winning those for billions of years. On the 10th day, something remarkable happened. The main communication satellite in the system suddenly powered on. Lights flickered to life. Systems began running again. The plague was gone from its circuits. Messages started flooding out from the planet below. Technology is working again. Hospitals are coming back online. Power is returning. The system was not fully clean yet. The plague still infected many areas. But in the places where humans had deployed their bacteria, technology was beginning to function again. Ji-won received a priority message from Daehyun back at the council station. Commander, report your status. Solution is working, Captain, Ji-won replied. The bacteria are successfully eliminating the plague. Infected technology is recovering. No complications observed. Same here, came reports from the other 2 field teams. Success in all 3 systems. Daehyun's voice carried satisfaction. Well done. Maintain monitoring for 1 more week. Then return to base. Let the bacteria do their work. Sen. Thex heard about the initial success and immediately called for an investigation. This is impossible, he insisted to the council. The humans must have gotten lucky. Or they are lying about their results. Send observers then, Velthar suggested. Let them see for themselves. Thex sent his best scientists to the 3 infected systems. They arrived, expecting to find failure or fraud. Instead, they found human teams quietly monitoring genuinely successful deployments. One of Thex's scientists, a being made of crystallized thought energy, studied the bacteria under a microscope. This should not work. These are just bacteria. Simple, stupid bacteria. That is why it works, Seung-min explained patiently. The plague is designed to fight intelligent systems. These bacteria are not intelligent. They just eat. It is what they have evolved to do for billions of years. End quote. 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 The scientist watched as a single bacterium consumed a nanobot, broke it down for nutrients, then divided into 2 bacteria. This is the simplest solution attempted, and it is the only one that works. Back on his ship, the scientist sent his report to Thex. The human solution is genuine. It is working. I do not understand how they knew to try this, but they were correct. Thex read the report 3 times. He could not believe it. Could not accept it. The humans, the newest and least advanced species, had solved a problem that had defeated the galaxy's greatest minds. By the 14th day, the first infected system was almost completely clean. Technology was functioning normally. The plague was gone, consumed by trillions of bacteria that continued to hunt down every last nanobot. The bacteria themselves were harmless. They ate only the plague's specific molecular structure. Once the plague was gone, they would die off naturally, having no food source. Ji-won prepared her team to return to base. Good work, everyone. We did what we came to do. Nari powered up the ship. The engines ran smoothly now, no longer threatened by plague infection. Ready to depart, Commander. As they left the system, Ji-won looked back at the planets below. Lights were returning to the cities. Ships were flying again. Life was returning to normal. And it had all happened so quietly that most people in the system did not even know humans had been there. That was fine with Ji-won. They were not there for glory. They were there to do a job. Seung-min collected his last data samples. You know what I find most amazing? He said to Ji-won. We did not invent anything new. We just used what Earth gave us. Bacteria. Evolution. The same forces that have sustained life on our planet for billions of years. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways, Ji-won said, repeating what Dae-hyun had told them before they launched. When all 3 teams returned to the council station, they found it in an uproar. News of the human success had spread. Other species were demanding to know how it was done. Some praised the humans. Some accused them of keeping secrets. Some simply could not believe such a simple solution had worked. Ji-won ignored all of it. She submitted her report to Dae-hyun, checked on her team to make sure they were all healthy, then went to sleep. She had been awake for 70 hours straight. Dae-hyun read all 3 field reports. Success. 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 He allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before preparing for the next phase. Now came the hard part, explaining to the council how humans had succeeded where everyone else had failed. He was not worried, though. The results spoke for themselves. 3 systems cleaned in 2 weeks, millions of lives saved, technology restored, and it had all been done quietly, efficiently, with no drama and no celebration. Just humans doing what they did best. Solving problems. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council was completely full. Every seat was occupied. Representatives from all 43 member species had come, along with observers from dozens of other civilizations. Word had spread across the galaxy. The humans had solved the Cascade Plague. Dae-hyun stood at the center of the massive chamber, calm despite hundreds of eyes watching him. Beside him stood Professor Yuna Shin, a human historian and cultural expert who had been teaching alien species about Earth and its people. She was older, maybe 60, with gray hair and kind eyes. Velthar called the assembly to order. We gather today to hear the human explanation of how they defeated the Cascade Plague. 3 systems are now clean. Technology is restored. The plague is eliminated. Captain Park, the floor is yours. Dae-hyun bowed. Thank you, Ambassador Velthar. Before I explain our solution, I want to make something clear. We did not surpass your technology. We did not discover anything you could not have discovered. We simply approached the problem differently. Thex clicked his mandibles impatiently. Then, tell us this different approach. How did simple bacteria defeat technology that resisted our quantum weapons and temporal shields? Because bacteria are not technology, Daehyun said simply. The plague was designed to fight technology. It understands computers. It understands energy weapons. It understands advanced systems. But it does not understand life. He activated a hologram showing microscopic bacteria consuming plague nanobots. These bacteria have been on Earth for billions of years. They evolved to survive in the harshest conditions. They learned to eat almost anything. We simply modified them to recognize the plague's molecular structure as food. A counselor from the Hectar species, beings who could manipulate time, spoke up. But the plague adapts. We saw it learn to resist our temporal containment fields in mere hours. How did your bacteria avoid this? Minji stepped forward to answer. The plague adapts through programming and logic. It analyzes what attacks it, determines the pattern, then modifies itself to resist. But bacteria do not attack with patterns. They attack with randomness. She pulled up another image. Each bacterium is slightly different from its parent. Random mutations occur constantly. Most mutations are useless. Some are harmful, but occasionally, a mutation makes a bacterium better at eating the plague. That bacterium survives and reproduces. Evolution happens in real time. The plague cannot predict random mutations, Daehyun added. It cannot adapt to something that has no pattern. By the time it figures out how to resist one generation of bacteria, that generation has already evolved into something new. The chamber was silent. The concept was so simple, yet none of them had thought of it. A small, blue-skinned representative raised her hand. But why bacteria? Why not use energy weapons or nanobots like we tried? Yuna spoke for the first time. Because you tried to beat the plague at its own game. You used technology to fight technology. But humans learned long ago that sometimes you have to change the game entirely. She walked to the center of the floor, her voice calm but carrying clearly. May I tell you about Earth's history? About how humans learned to think this way? Velthar gestured for her to continue. Please. We are curious. Yuna smiled. Humans have faced many plagues, diseases that killed millions. For thousands of years, we had no advanced technology, no quantum computers, no energy weapons, just our intelligence and what nature gave us. She pulled up images of Earth's history. When smallpox came, we could not use technology to fight it. So we used biology. We took cowpox, a related disease, and used it to train our bodies to fight smallpox. We called it vaccination. When bacteria infected our wounds, we could not use nanobots to remove them, so we found other bacteria and fungi that killed the harmful ones. We called them antibiotics. We let nature fight nature. More images appeared. When insects destroyed our crops, we did not have advanced weapons. So we brought in other insects that ate the harmful ones. We used biology against biology. Thex interrupted. But you have advanced technology now. Why did you not use it? Because we remember our history, Daehyun answered. We remember that technology is not always the answer. Sometimes, the old ways work better. Junho stepped up with his mechanical computer. And when we did use technology, we used simple technology. This computer has no quantum processors, no AI, no advanced systems. It is just gears and levers. The plague does not even recognize it as technology worth attacking, he demonstrated, showing calculations running on the mechanical system. While your advanced computers were failing, our simple machines kept working. They are too stupid to be infected. A counselor made of pure energy pulsed with confusion. But this seems like going backwards. Like abandoning progress. No, Yuna said gently. It is remembering that progress is not always about becoming more complex. Sometimes progress is about knowing when simplicity works better. One coming plex. One coming plex. One coming plex. She paused, then continued. Humans almost destroyed our own planet once. We built weapons so powerful they could kill everyone. We polluted our air and water. We thought more technology was always better. But we learned. We learned that sometimes you have to step back. Sometimes you have to work with nature instead of trying to dominate it. Sometimes the simple solution is the right solution. Velthar's feathers ruffled thoughtfully. So you are saying your success came not from superior technology, but from a different philosophy? Exactly, Dahyun confirmed. We assumed nothing. We questioned everything. We did not ask, how do we use our best technology? We asked, what does this problem actually need? Minji pulled up data from their research. Look at what everyone else tried. Quantum disruptors, temporal shields, counter nanobots, energy weapons. All advanced, all impressive, all focused on being more sophisticated than the plague. We went the opposite direction. We used biology that has been working for billions of years. We used mechanical computers that are centuries old. We worked with nature instead of against it. Sungmin, who had just returned from field deployment, spoke up. And in the field, we saw something beautiful. The bacteria evolved. They got better at eating the plague. Natural selection happened before our eyes. We did not have to program anything. Nature did the work. The assembly chamber buzzed with conversation. Species were talking to each other, debating what they had heard. Thek stood up. This is all very interesting. But you humans got lucky. You tried something different, and it worked. That does not mean your way is better. Daehyun looked at him calmly. You are right. We did get lucky. But we also did our research. We tested carefully. We deployed strategically. And most importantly, we admitted we might be wrong. We did not come here claiming to be smarter than you, Yuna added. We came saying we think differently. Another counselor asked, will your solution work on other problems? Or just this plague? Every problem is different. Daehyun admitted. But our approach can work on many problems. Start simple. Question assumptions. Do not always reach for the most advanced solution. Sometimes nature has already solved the problem, and we just need to pay attention. Velthar stood and spread his wings. The Council owes humanity a debt of gratitude. You saved millions of lives. You solved a problem we could not solve. You have proven your value to this galaxy. He paused, then continued. I propose we create a new division. A crisis response division. Led by humans, that can tackle problems other methods have failed to solve. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some agreed enthusiastically. Others objected. But the idea had been planted. Thex reluctantly stood. I disagreed with allowing humans to try. I thought it was a waste of time. I was wrong. The words seemed difficult for him to say. The humans have earned respect. Daehyun bowed to him. Thank you, Counselor. A vote was called. The Crisis Response Division was approved with overwhelming support. Humans would lead it, but all species could contribute. As the assembly ended and representatives filed out, many stopped to speak with the human team. They asked questions. They requested copies of the research. They wanted to learn this different way of thinking. Daehyun found himself surrounded by eager counselors. He answered patiently, explaining their methods over and over, but he kept saying the same thing. We are not special. We just approach the problem differently. You can do this too. Later, in the quiet of their laboratory, the human team gathered. We did it, Junho said, smiling. We actually did it. We did what needed to be done, Daehyun corrected. And we did it the way humans always have. We adapted. We improvised. We remembered that simple can be powerful. Yuna looked around at the young faces. You know what makes me most proud? You did not change who we are to impress them. You stayed human. You used human thinking. And that was enough. Asa. Minji checked her bacteria cultures, still growing in their containers. The other infected systems are requesting our solution. We need to prepare more deployments. Then let us get to work, Daehyun said. Quietly. Efficiently. Just like before. As they returned to their tasks, Velthar appeared at the door. Captain Park, may I speak with you? They stepped outside. Velthar's ancient eyes studied Daehyun. You changed the council today. You made us question assumptions we have held for centuries. That is no small thing. We just showed you what works for us, Daehyun replied. No, Velthar said. You showed us that wisdom is not the same as technology. You showed us that being advanced does not mean having better tools. It means knowing which tools to use. He spread his wings. Humanity has been in space for less than a century. But today, you taught civilizations thousands of years old something new. That is remarkable. Daehyun smiled slightly. We have got the next one too. Velthar laughed, a sound like wind chimes. I believe you do. As the old ambassador walked away, Daehyun looked out at the stars. Earth was out there somewhere. A small blue planet full of simple life that had survived for billions of years. That survival had taught humans important lessons. And now, they were teaching those lessons to the galaxy. Not with arrogance, not with pride, just by doing what worked and letting results speak for themselves. The galaxy was learning. And humans were quietly, calmly, showing them the way. 2 years had passed since humans solved the Cascade Plague. The Crisis Response Division now operated from a new facility built specifically for their work. The building was not fancy or impressive by galactic standards, but it was functional and efficient, just like the humans who ran it. Director Minji Cho walked through the main operations center. Screens showed data from across the galaxy. Teams were working on 7 different crisis situations. Some teams were all human. Others were mixed, combining human thinking with alien expertise. The division had solved 14 major problems in 2 years. A solar flare that threatened to destroy an entire civilization's communication network. A quantum anomaly that was tearing holes in space. A disease affecting 3 different species that had baffled medical experts for decades. Each time, the division found solutions that others had missed. Minji stopped at one workstation where Taeyong Choi, a young human crisis responder, was leading a mixed-species team. Taeyong was only 26, but he had already led 3 successful missions. He had learned the human approach quickly and taught it to others naturally. How is the star collapse situation? Minji asked. Taeyong looked up from his analysis. Interesting. The Vrin scientists say the star is collapsing due to dark matter accumulation. They want to use a quantum extraction beam. What do you think? Minji asked, though she already had an idea. I think they are overcomplicating it, Taeyong said. He gestured to his team, which included a Vrin, 2 hectare, and a crystalline being. We have been studying simpler options. A young Vrin scientist named Kelthar spoke up. She was one of the first aliens to fully adopt human methods. What if we do not try to stop the collapse? What if we just redirect it? Redirect a collapsing star? Another team member asked, surprised. That sounds more complicated, not less. Actually, it might be simpler, Taeyong explained. Stopping the collapse requires fighting tremendous forces. But redirecting it? That is like pushing a falling object slightly to one side instead of trying to catch it. Kelthar nodded enthusiastically. We could use gravitational anchors. Simple technology. Very old technology, actually. Create a slight pull in a safe direction. The star collapses, but away from inhabited systems. Minji smiled. This was exactly what the division was meant to do. Take humans' different thinking and share it with other species. Now, aliens were coming up with creative, simple solutions on their own. Develop the plan, Minji told them. She continued her walk through the operations center. At another station, she found Ambassador Daehyun Park reviewing reports. He had been promoted to senior council member, but he still spent most of his time with the Crisis Response Division. Daehyun, do you have a moment? Minji asked. They walked to a quiet observation deck that looked out at the stars. Daehyun seemed tired but content. The council wants us to take on more missions, he said. We are becoming too successful. Everyone wants human help now. Is that a problem? Minji asked. Maybe. Remember when we started? We worked quietly. We did not seek attention. Now, species are requesting our help for every small problem. Some are not even real crises. They just want humans involved for prestige. Minji understood his concern. We need to remember why we do this. Not for fame. Not to prove anything. We do it to help. Exactly, Daehyun agreed. At that moment, alarms sounded throughout the facility. Both of them rushed back to the operations center. Junho was at the main console, his face serious. We have a real crisis. A colony ship with 10,000 people on board. Their life support is failing. They have maybe 8 hours before everyone dies. What caused the failure? Daehyun asked. Unknown. Their systems just started shutting down. They sent a distress call, but they are 3 days from the nearest rescue ship. 3 days, Minji repeated quietly. They have 8 hours. Everyone in the operations center stopped working. This was different from their usual problems. This was not something they could study for weeks. This required immediate action. Velthar appeared on a communication screen. Even after 2 years, he still took personal interest in the division's work. Can you help them? Daehyun looked at his team. Humans and aliens. All waiting for direction. We need more information. Junho, get me their system diagnostics. Everything they have. Data flooded the screens. Life support failing. Backup systems not responding. Temperature dropping. Oxygen levels decreasing. Their computer system is trying to activate backups, but something is blocking it, Sora observed. She had become the division's chief analyst. It is like... Wait. This looks familiar. She pulled up old data. This is similar to the Cascade Plague. Not exactly the same, but related. Like someone created a new version that targets life support specifically. The room went cold. A new plague. One designed to kill people, not just disable technology. Can we use the same solution? Velthar asked urgently. Not fast enough, Minji said. The bacteria take hours to cultivate. Days to deploy. These people have 8 hours. Thex appeared on another screen. Over 2 years, he had become one of the division's strongest supporters. Our fastest ships cannot reach them in time. Is there any way to help them remotely? Taeyong spoke up suddenly. What if we do not fight it at all? Everyone turned to look at him. Explain, Daehyun said. The plague is attacking their computer systems, right? Making them shut down. But what if they do not need computer systems? Taeyong pulled up the colony ship's blueprints. Life support has manual overrides. Old mechanical systems designed as final backups. If they stop trying to use the computers and switch everything to manual, the plague has nothing to attack. Manual life support for 10,000 people? Someone asked doubtfully. That requires constant human operation. Someone has to physically adjust every system. Then they adjust every system, Jiwon said, stepping forward. She had become the division's operations commander. It is work. Hard work. But it keeps them alive. Daehyun nodded slowly. Send them instructions. Tell them to shut down all computer systems. Everything. Switch to complete manual operation. Guide them through it step by step. Junho established a communication link with the colony ship. The captain appeared on screen, looking panicked. "We are dying here. Can you help us?" "Yes," Daehyun said calmly. "But you need to do exactly what we tell you. Do not question it. Do not hesitate. Lives depend on following these instructions precisely. Anything." The captain said, desperately, "Shut down your main computer. All of it. Right now." "What?" "But that controls everything. That is why the plague is killing you," Junho explained quickly. "It is attacking your computer. Remove the computer. Remove the target. Your ship has mechanical backups. We will walk you through using them." The captain looked at his crew, then back at the screen. "You want us to trust our lives to systems that have not been used in decades?" "I want you to trust them to systems that cannot be infected," Daehyun corrected. "Captain, you have 8 hours until everyone dies. We are offering you a way to survive. Do you want to take it?" A long pause. Then, the captain nodded. "Tell us what to do." For the next 6 hours, the Crisis Response Division talked the colony ship through manually operating every life support system. Junho and his team provided instructions. Nari, who knew ship systems inside and out, explained mechanical operations. Sungmin helped them set up biological air filtration when the regular systems failed. It was exhausting work. The colony ship's crew had to physically operate pumps, adjust air mixture ratios, regulate temperature by opening and closing vents. Every task that computers normally did automatically, people now did by hand. But it worked. After 6 hours, the colony ship captain appeared on screen again. He looked exhausted, but alive. "We stabilized everything. Life support is functioning on full manual operation." "Good," Daehyun said. "Now keep it that way until rescue arrives. Do not turn the computers back on. Not even to test them. I understand." The captain paused. "You saved 10,000 lives today. How did you know this would work?" "I'm Talagli 9. Because humans ran our ships manually for centuries before we had computers," Daehyun explained. "We remembered that computers are tools, not requirements. You can survive without them, if you have to." After the communication ended, the operations center erupted in celebration. Humans and aliens hugged each other. Even Thex's image on the screen showed what might have been satisfaction. Velthar spoke quietly. 2 years ago, you saved millions from the Cascade Plague with bacteria and mechanical computers. Today you saved 10,000 with even simpler methods. Just manual operation and human knowledge. And alien knowledge, Daehyun corrected, gesturing to the mixed teams around him. Kelthar figured out the gravitational anchor solution earlier. Taeyong saw the answer to this crisis. This is not just humans anymore. It is everyone learning to think differently. Minji smiled. That was always the goal. Not to prove humans are special. To share our approach so everyone benefits. Yuna, who had been observing from the back of the room, came forward. "You know what I find most remarkable? 2 years ago, the galaxy thought humans were primitive. Now species across the galaxy are requesting to join this division. They want to learn our methods. It is not about being primitive or advanced anymore," Taeyong said. "It is about being effective." Velthar's image nodded. "The Council wants to expand the Crisis Response Division. Make it a major part of galactic governance. You have changed how we think about problem solving." Daehyun looked around at his team. "We will expand. We will take on more missions. But we do not change our approach. We stay humble. We stay focused on actually helping people. We do not do this for recognition." "Agreed," Jiwon said. That night, Minji stood on the observation deck alone, looking at the stars. So much had changed in 2 years. Humans had gone from being the newest, least advanced species to being trusted problem solvers. But they had done it by staying true to who they were. Daehyun joined her at the window. "Thinking about Earth?" he asked. Always, she said, thinking about how everything we accomplished here came from lessons we learned there. From billions of years of life, finding ways to survive. We brought Earth's wisdom to the stars, Daehyun said. And it turns out the whole galaxy needed it. A message appeared on Minji's communicator. Another crisis. Another chance to help. She smiled. Ready for the next one? Always, Daehyun replied. We have got this. And they did. Not because humans were better than other species. Not because their technology was more advanced, but because they remembered important lessons. Question assumptions. Start simple. Work with nature. Adapt constantly. And never assume you have all the answers. These lessons, learned on a small blue planet over billions of years, were now spreading across the galaxy. Species that had forgotten the value of simplicity were remembering. Civilizations that had relied only on advanced technology were discovering the power of basic methods. And quietly, without seeking glory or recognition, humans had changed the galaxy forever. Not by surpassing everyone's expectations, but by meeting challenges the only way they knew how. With hard work, creative thinking, and a simple statement that had become their motto. We have got this. 3 simple words that had come to mean something important throughout the galaxy. Not a boast. Not a promise. Just a calm acknowledgement that humans would try their best, think differently, and never give up. The stars shined outside the window. Somewhere out there, another crisis was developing. Another impossible problem that would need solving. And when it came, humans would be ready. Quietly, efficiently, without drama or celebration. Because that was what humans did. They saw a problem, they said, we have got this, and then they proved it. Every single time.